Hello and welcome to the National League Playoff Final preview from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage and with me is Daniel Cody. It is Torquay United versus Hartlepool United at Ashton Gate. It's not at Wembley, unfortunately, but it's a long trip for both sides anyway, and the prices are ridiculous. But Cody, let's start off with two former Football League clubs. Had a bit of a sticky patch in their time in the National League. Let's start with Torquay. They've been in there for a long time. Had to go down to the National League South. What a remarkable rise they've had.
Yeah, and I think Gary Johnson has probably been the heart of it, in fairness. I think he had a great spell with them in the National League South. There's a little bit of this that's bittersweet to me because you'll probably remember that last year I predicted them to win the National League under Gary Johnson, and I just went a year too early. They were right up there. And to be fair, for much of the season, particularly in the first half, they looked like title favourites. They had a really good start to the season. Sutton United obviously came on strong. They were brilliant towards the end. And Torquay just faltered slightly. But the addition of experience in the squad, I mean, one of the players who scored in the semi-final, for example, Asa Hall, who we know from Luton at Wembley, 12 years ago now. There's a lot of experience in that team. There's a lot of players that have played at bigger levels. And all in all, they've had a brilliant season, despite the fact they might be disappointed to have faltered from top spot.
And let's get to Hartlepool. They've been out in the Football League for the last 5-6 years now. They haven't really been challenging in the National League until this season. And Dave Chandler, who we have seen Dave Chandler live, he won the FA Trophy with Bearsy Fylde. They've done an incredible job as well.
Yeah, and he did a really good job there too, in fairness. He's a good National League manager. He gets the best out of players, and he's actually probably more importantly for Hartlepool fans, particularly with getting them back on side after a few poor years. They've played entertaining football for the large part. I know the 1-0 semi-final win goes against that, but the first half against Bromley, they were incredible in the first knockout round. And they were, for 45 minutes, they looked completely unstoppable. The worry is, and it's the same for both sides, I'm afraid, is that Hartlepool in the second half didn't look like they could defend a set piece in that game particularly well. And they went from an unassailable position to a grandstand finish, which has got to be an element of concern. When they do lose, they do tend to let in goals. I mean, the last game against the Sutton champion Sutton in the league that they lost was a 3-0 defeat. They don't often keep big clean sheets, but against Stockport, that will give them confidence. And really, based on their form throughout the playoffs, it's going to be an interesting one to call this because both teams can be entertaining at their best and both teams struggle at the back at times.
Who are you two key players for both sides? Starting with Torquay.
Well, starting with Torquay, I mean, it would be rude after the semi-final to not pick out Daniel Wright, who scored a brace in that game. But I actually want to pick out the other goal scorers, mainly through the side of experience. Asa Hall is a player, as I mentioned, has played in big games before with Luton, has played in the Football League. He's been there for a while now as well. He's reliable. Dean Moxey is the other one, though. Of course, spent many a year with their rivals down there, scored the crucial penalty in extra time. And there's not any player probably in the National League with as much experience as him defensively. Yes, you can worry about pace on a big pitch, which might have been more of a factor at Wembley, maybe not quite so much at Ashton Gate. But I think I have to pick out the experienced players. The only younger one I'd perhaps go for Torquay was Conor Lemahigh Evans, who I thought was really good as well. And he's been a prospect for a few years, but in both of the playoff games has looked a threat. So they're probably my three on Torquay side of things.
And Hartlepool?
Well, Hartlepool is one man for me. It has to be Rhys Oates. I mean, his first spell at the club was disappointing, but this season he has been a talisman. In the playoffs, he scored 2 against Bromley. He was virtually unplayable at that stage, and then went and bagged the winner against Stockport late in the second half as well. They have got little bits of experience. You quite often see like Ryan Donaldson come off the bench. Used to play at Cambridge, obviously, is a very good footballer. And they've got Nicky Featherstone in there as an experienced leader too. But you can't look beyond Rhys Oates for the key man for Hartlepool, because if they're going to score the goals, if they're going to be fired to promotion on Sunday afternoon, I think he's probably going to be the man to get it for them.
How do you see the game panning out? Because as you said earlier about Hartlepool do tend to concede goals, and they concede quite a lot looking at their league campaign. Do you see Torquay going on the front foot, not and Hartlepool defending like they did in that game against Stockport? Do you see them holding back and then hitting on the counter attack?
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually see that Torquay or Hartlepool are good enough to try and play a defensive game in this one. I'm kind of hoping it will be like most of their playoff matches and most of their league seasons, which has been entertaining football. I'd say over the course, Torquay have been slightly better defensively, but their record defensively was a lot better in the first half of the season than it has been in the second. So I'm just hoping that the attacking players will be given freedom and we'll see a real class game. The fact there's a lot of experience in the middle of the pitch means there may be a bit more possession than we're used to in some of these games. But with Reece Oates up front, with Connor Lemon, High Evans, they're strikers who are willing to run in behind, who are willing to back up against defenders. And we should be able to see entertaining football as a result. So the most part of me is hoping for an entertaining barnstorming game. We know that finals sometimes don't work out that way, but this is the National League and it very rarely disappoints. So being at Ashton Gate rather than Wembley, I think maybe suits Torquay slightly better, but I still think it's going to be a thriller. I'm hoping at least. I'm going for heart overhead this time, Craig.
Well, let's get into that prediction then. Heart overhead. You have gone for Torquay for the majority of the season. That was your pre-season pick as well. Do you think it's their time?
I don't know. I mean, everything about me is telling me that they were the closest to being champions for a large part of the season. They've got a very experienced manager who's won promotion from virtually every level up to the championship. And they've got more experienced players at a higher level in their team, the likes of Hall and Moxie and many others as well. But there's something about Hartlepool because that first knockout round, and I think playing the extra game might be crucial as well. Having had football every weekend, having played that first round as well. So I think that's going to be an influential factor. Hartlepool looked unbeatable for the first 45 minutes against Bromley. They then sorted out the defensive side against Stockport in a really solid performance. I think Hartlepool might nick it, I think it's going to be a really exciting game. I think there's going to be lots of chances. But if I had to go for it, I think Hartlepool will nick it by 2-1. And that's bad for me because when I'm doing the 92 next season, Hartlepool's one hell of a long trip. Though Torquay ain't much closer.
Torquay ain't closer. I'm from Luton, so what do you expect? It's a very long drive. I went to Torquay 2 years ago. It's a very long drive. Torquay versus Hartlepool. For me, I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go the opposite way. It'd make it easier. I think Torquay would do it. I expect it to be edgy, tight. I say player fans always tight. Salford beat 5-3-0 a couple of years ago. So I expect it to be a bitty game. I really do. I think Torquay will nick it 2-1. I think it'll be a late winner, Torquay. But I hope it's a good game. It is on BT Sport. Please do check it out. I know the Euros are on at the moment, but National League final, you can't go wrong with that. And those are a little preview for the National League final. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section down there. Give me your prediction of Torquay versus Hartlepool. And while you're down there, give this video a like, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter at Honest Football Free. And we'll see you next time.